1969, 69 being the sigil of Cancer. And there was some eerie connections, I guess, I was making for people. So I will elaborate further here for you. Ain't I great? Is that since around 1969 or 1970, I think NASA officially has not been back to the moon. Now, I'm not here to debate whether we really have been to the moon, whether the Earth is really flat or it's a globe. I'm going to be focusing on the sigils and the symbols and the correspondences and some connections I think you'll find very peculiar. Here's a side note. In the early 80s, late 70s, I forget the exact date, a bunch of astronauts went out into space, a few hundred miles past Earth's atmosphere, and they encountered what is called the Van Allen radiation belts, or radiation belt. And what happened when they entered this field was they got really sick. This is how the story goes. I don't know, I wasn't there. This is basically how the story goes. The astronauts experienced severe radiation exposure. These astronauts claim the radiation was so intense it went and penetrated through the hull of the spacecraft they were on. How did they get to the moon and travel through those radiation belts in 1969, which they're only a few hundred miles out of the Earth's atmosphere? And the moon is supposedly 250,000 miles away. I don't want to get into Sherlock Holmes, like who did it, but I will say there's several different possibilities that I consider. I don't know the truth, I don't have a rocket ship, I can't go out in space, but there could be some kind of window of opportunity that was open for space travel in 1969. Maybe there's a particular cycle of the intensity of the radiation, maybe it goes up and down, who knows. Maybe they didn't even go to the moon. Maybe it was a Hollywood just movie set or something. Maybe they did. I don't know. But that's not the point. The connections are, NASA is a space program of the United States. The United States is born July 4th, 1776. The United States is a Cancer sun sign country. When did we go to the moon again? July 20th, 1969. 69 is the sigil for Cancer, is ruled by the moon. Now the 6 and the 9 are sigils for the crab claws, because that's what the zodiac animal is for Cancer. It's the crab. So it's like you have all of these cogs on the wheel, all syncretized with 69 in Cancer. United States, Cancer, sun, country. In 1969, of all friggin' years, 69 is the sigil of Cancer. They land on the friggin' moon in July, when the sun is in Cancer. And it's actually July 20th, which is when the sun is about to arrive in the 5th house of Leo. So the famous saying is, the eagle has landed, Houston. Everybody knows the eagle is synonymous with the United States. But symbolically, the eagle is associated also with the 8th sign of the zodiac, Scorpio, the scorpion. See, the 8th sign has the most mascots out of any other zodiac sign. It's the scorpion, the snake, the phoenix, the eagle, the dragon, the griffin. There's a bunch of them. 8 is the number of infinity. It's the dragon or snake eating its tail in infinity. 8 is also symbolic for chains or bonding, bondage. Scorpio also rules sex and reproduction, death and rebirth. It's a water sign. Its motto is, I desire. Those are the chains that bind. You know, when you have sex with your wife or husband or spouse, sometimes we refer to them as the old ball and chain. Now what's interesting about 6 and 9 is that you can take a 6 and a 9 and merge these numbers into each other, and you will get the number 8. Meaning if you draw a 6 and a 9 on top of each other, that will be the number 8. The number 8 is also associated with the angels, the angelic sign. because it deals with the underworld as well, death and rebirth. It's ruled by the planet Pluto and Mars. And Pluto is also known as Hades. Greek mythology, Hades was the guardian of the underworld, which is another name for guardian of hell, which is Satan or Saturn. Very interesting connections there as well, because Pluto and Saturn are both dwarf orbs. I guarantee you've heard this commercial on YouTube. It's a 5-second Google ad. This woman asks if Pluto's a planet. Every time I hear that ad, I'd say, no, Pluto is not a planet. It is a dwarf planet. Now can somebody please send that bitch a telegram? We solved the mystery of Pluto. Anyway, Pluto and Saturn, both dwarfs. Saturn is a dwarf star. Pluto is a dwarf planet. Remember 2006? Everyone was freaking out because Pluto's not a planet no more? No, Pluto is a surprise. Like a pervert flasher who waits in the shadows, waiting for the right opportune moment to show his wang. That's what Pluto does to you. Surprise, bitch, I got you! So a few other interesting connections. The moon rules Cancer. Cancer is cardinal water, which is the solid phase of water, which is ice cubes. You know, the ice cube, 4 sides. Number 4, the 4th house, Cancer. And what did everybody watch the moon landing on? Watch it on the boob tube, the box, the cube. What's the main point behind all this? Is that these sigils and symbols are signatures of identification. That's how angels communicate. Angels, angles, sacred geometry. They speak and communicate through angles of light. All these symbols and sigils aren't just random squiggly lines. There's spiritual, symbolic meaning behind them. Now, why is that important, Brandon? Who cares? It's so you know who you're dealing with. It's because those are the rules of the game. Cannot interfere with humans' free will. For example, the sigil or symbology that NASA uses in its logo identifies what it is, what this entity is. It uses the vector symbol, also known as the chevron. It's an upside down V. It's like a flying V. This is on the Star Trek emblem that they wear in the movies, on their shirts. Also the Pontiac Trans Am Firebird. You ever see a Firebird Formula in 1978? That Burt Reynolds movie made that car famous. It's a big, huge, flaming bird. Phoenix on the hood. That's the Firebird. Firebird is the mascot of what sign? Scorpio. Scorpio is an angelic sign. That's why NASA uses the vector. Vector is symbolic for flight. And Pontiac, the manufacturer who makes the Firebird, has their logo as the vector as well. Pontiac was named after a famous Indian chief. Now what's interesting, well, you'll find this vector symbol in anomalies such as the photos that the astronauts took on the moon. A lot of controversy surrounding these. However, I've seen a few YouTube videos that show the different hidden structures that were blacked out supposedly, and you can see them in these different contrasts and light. Some photos you'll see pyramid in the distance, different buildings, etc. Now they also show a lot of these different flashes of light that are in the shape of these vector V's. NASA's logo is this blue vector. What's your vector, Vector? The vector symbolizes flight, the phoenix rising up from the ashes, the firebird, the Phoenicians, phonics, language, so connected with the intellect and communication, the logos of the angels, the language of the heavens, the angles of light, sacred geometric forms and patterns. These communicate and identify many different things. That's what a logo is. Logos is the Greek word which means word, order, reason, communication, logic. Side note, The New Testament was written in Greek, not English. In the Gospel of St. John, the original Greek text reads that in the beginning there was Logos. Logos was God, and Jesus was the Logos incarnate. The English translation says that Jesus was the Word incarnate, but it doesn't convey the same meaning. So if you say that Jesus was the Logos, that communicates something more powerful and deeper than just Word. Jesus never broke the law. He never sinned, which is why he was the Logos incarnate in the flesh. He never broke the law because he was the law, and God is the law, the order of the universe, reason, rational thinking, logic, God's order. Logos is another word for identification. When you speak, that conveys a meaning. That's why communication must have order, so we all know what we're talking about. There isn't a such thing as objectional truth, or what's true for me may not be true for you. The New Age bullshit. There needs to be a solid foundation that does not change. That's what truth is. It's eternal. So the Logos, Word, communication, reason, logic, law start to make sense now. Identification. Who? It's a name tag for you to know who you're dealing with. It's important to know this because human beings are not animals. We are rational, logical creatures, and we have free will. We can either choose to obey the law or choose to break it or break ourselves against it.